Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new relationship advice stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first story is titled, My 36M wife 34F keeps tying my boots after I've told her to keep her hands off of them. I tried to teach her a lesson and really hurt her feelings. Yes, I know the title is bizarre and I can't believe I'm actually writing this. My wife is a neat freak. Always has been. She throws notes on my desk out assuming they're garbage. My belongings get rearranged to the point where it takes me hours to find them. It's something I've come to accept. I'm not happy about it, but we have a pretty happy marriage on the whole. I am a volunteer EMT, and I keep my boots unlaced up against the wall next to my clothes hamper so that I can throw them on along with my uniform if a call comes in during the middle of the night. Well, my wife has taken to tying the boot laces when she sees them untied. Not only does she tie them, but she tightens them and double knots them to the point where I need to undo the knot, open up the boots, and let a little slack out to fit my feet into them. I ignored it the first 2 times, but the third time she did it, I made it a point to bring up to her the next day. I very calmly said, "Hun, I appreciate that you want everything neat, but please do not touch my boots in the future. Time is of the essence when I'm going on a call and at 2 in the morning I don't have the time to unlace them and open them up. It's not just a minor inconvenience, it's people's lives, so I would appreciate it if you left them alone." She rolled her eyes, said I was being dramatic, and that she wouldn't help me out by keeping my things neat in the future. Well, she never stopped. No matter how many times I've asked her, told her, begged her, she just laughs and says, "Well, you know how I am." The other night a page went out for a CPR in progress. I went to throw my boots on and they were, once again, tightened beyond recognition. So I'm sitting there on the edge of the bed, cursing, trying to get my boots open, and fumbling due to the stress of the situation. My wife opened her eyes, groggily looked at me, and asked, "Don't you need to go on that call?" I know I was in the wrong here, and I regret it. I slammed the boot into the ground and yelled, "Yes, I do. I would have been out the door 5 minutes ago, except some stupid MOTHERDUCKER ducked with my goddamn boots again." My wife got up without another word, walked into the bathroom and slammed the door. I got my boots open and went on the call. By the time we arrived, the police had gotten her back, so I didn't have to do CPR, but I was sweating and shaking thinking my delay could have cost a life. I got home and my wife wasn't talking to me. She ignored me the entire day until we finally sat down and talked. She said I had scared her with how angry I got, that she thought I was going to hit her, and she didn't know I was capable of getting so angry. Note, I have never raised a hand to her, nor have I ever yelled at her before. I am absolutely not a violent person in any way, shape or form. I apologized for yelling at her, and acknowledged that I hadn't meant to snap at her. I was frustrated with the situation as I needed to get to the person in need of CPR as soon as possible, and it was a delay that didn't need to happen. I, once again, pleaded with her not to touch my boots because lives were literally on the line. She told me that if I was going to overreact and make her afraid, then she would never touch my boots again because she didn't want to live like that. Last night, before I got into bed, I had a sinking feeling, so I went over and checked my boots. I was very disappointed to find them tightened up again. So I decided to show her how it felt. I went over to her closet and pulled out her running shoes. I unlaced the shoelaces on both of them, removed them from the shoes completely, curled them each into a little coil, put them inside the shoes, and put them back. I then went to sleep. At 6:15 I was woken up by my wife screaming, "How could you? Why would you do this?" holding up both laceless shoes with tears in her eyes. My wife likes to go for an early morning run and I knew she would want to get out the door as soon as possible. I smiled and said, "You know how I am. I just like things neat." She continued sobbing and walked out of the room. So, by the time she was all laced up again, it was raining, so she missed out on her run. I actually feel pretty terrible about that because I really only wanted to delay her, not ruin her plans completely. At this point, she's alternating between crying that I went out of my way to hurt her and ignoring my presence. I acknowledge that what I've done has been pretty childish and not at all constructive. I just don't know what to do. She said, through tears, "You admitted you were totally in the wrong for yelling at me, and then you turned around and took it out on me in a different way. What is wrong with you?" The problem is, to her, an apology means taking on 100% of the fault. When I apologized for blowing up, she took that to mean she was 100% in the right and that my feelings were completely unjustified. So at this point, I haven't apologized for ruining her run, because she'll take that to mean that she wasn't wrong to touch my boots. I've tried to have these discussions, but it's in one ear and out the other. We have such a good relationship otherwise, but I feel like this issue has reached a tipping point and it's going to continue to result in arguments until we resolve it. How do I make things right with my wife while still letting her know that I won't tolerate her disrespecting my property anymore? The next one is an update to the previous story. I've gotten a few requests for update but didn't want to post until I felt like I really had anything to say. A lot has happened in the past 2 weeks, so I'm going to try to go over it as best I can. My wife and I started talking again. We had a very serious conversation and I did apologize for what I did to her running shoes, and then I told her I had to speak some truth and I wanted her to promise me that she wasn't going to roll her eyes, interrupt me, scoff, or get sarcastic with me, which she did. I told her that I was not kidding about my boots, that while most of the time I caught geriatric transports, falls, and nausea, there were instances where response time was of the essence and I didn't have time to play around with my boots in the middle of the night. I told her that there have been times when my intervention has been critical in saving a life, when my training has helped me recognize an underlying emergency, or when a call I made ensured that a patient was prioritized upon arrival at the hospital. I explained that a lot of the crap I see, I don't tell her about because I don't want to give her nightmares or make her worry about me. She actually listened and didn't dismiss what I had to say. She responded that she was trying to help by keeping things neat. I responded, "But you're not. Sweetie, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're not helping. You're hindering me. One day it may be the difference between life and death. I need you to not touch my gear. It's where I know where it is, it's where I can easily find it in a short amount of time, and if you move it, you are impeding an emergency response. I don't care if it looks neat. It serves a function, it doesn't look pretty. If you want to help me, please leave my gear where I put it." A few nights later I had my friend Officer Rich come over. Officer Rich was one of the 2 cops that did CPR on the victim that night. The 3 of us sat on our deck and had a few social distancing beers. He talked about getting there, doing CPR, giving Narcan, waiting for the ambulance and getting her back shortly before we got there. He then pulled out a few photos of car accidents that I had worked. He showed them to my wife and pointed out, "This car went into a tree. Your husband crawled into the wreck, put a collar on the driver, and stayed in there giving him oxygen until we could get him out. Your husband pulled a 3-year-old out of this wreck. Your husband recognized that the driver had a stroke and took her to a stroke center, which likely saved her life." After that, I told her I had something I wanted to show her and I asked her for the same promise I'd asked earlier. When she agreed, I showed her a video on YouTube of a police body cam from an overdose. This video showed how critical time is in getting someone back, and the training someone goes through in order to give the drug, do CPR, and utilize an AED. I told her, "I'm not trying to attack you, I don't want to have a fight, but I want you to understand what I go through. That I hope every call I go on is transporting a boo-boo, because otherwise it means that if I don't do everything right someone could die. If I don't get out the door as quickly as possible, someone could suffer brain damage while they're waiting for me to give them oxygen. If I'm upset and shaking because I had to waste time opening my boots, I might miss something critical and someone might not make it." She acknowledged that she understood and told me she hadn't really thought about the danger of what I do until the other night when she saw the photos of the wrecks. I told her that I think she has OCD and needs to see a therapist because it's hurting our marriage. I listed examples of her throwing important things out, moving things without permission, and messing with my gear. I offered to go together and said I'd be willing to work on things together. After I pointed out the pattern, she agreed that it was time to speak to someone. She wants to think about whether she wants to go together or go by herself, but she has promised me that she's going to try to change her patterns. I brought up her saying she thought I was going to hit her, and she acknowledged she'd been with guys who flew off the handle with little provocation and scared her. That she'd never seen me get that angry and it triggered her because she didn't think I was capable of blowing up like that. She's been very emotional lately and has been going through mood swings. She's been worried about me going out on calls. The other day she started crying and said, "I hope you know how much I appreciate what you do." Knock on wood, since we had the big talk, she hasn't touched my boots. Is everything resolved? Not by a long shot. But she seems to have a new appreciation for what I do. Thank you for all of your responses. I wound up not showing her the thread, because a lot of it was pretty harsh towards her. I recognize I cherry-picked incidents that didn't put her in the best light, and there's a lot more to her and our marriage than that. She is the person I chose for the rest of my life, and I want us to work. The next story is titled, Mum Had an Affair 18 Years Ago. I, 18M, am the product of it. My dad just informed me of all this, and told me he will not pay for my college, while my siblings got their college experience paid by our dad. Pretty much the title. I have no idea how to process all this, and I am completely unprepared for what lies ahead. Both my older brother and sister went to the same college. My brother graduated 2 years ago, my sister is set to graduate in 2 years. Both had their college paid by our dad. Dad paid all their college expenses, including rent, food, their cars, pocket money, you name it. My brother has a job now, his own place, lives together with his fiancée, and has his life together. My sister already has a good-paying job, and my dad still pays for almost everything for her. I got accepted to the same college, which was always the plan, and was looking forward to talk with my parents about the next steps, and ask them to help me the same they did for my siblings. I always assumed they had money put aside for my college the way they had for my siblings. Instead, I was met with a story about my mum's cheating, how I am the result of her cheating, and how my dad is not willing to support me anymore moving forward. Dad told me that Mum had 18 years to let me know and prepare me for the future, but obviously she never did. He said it was never his place to say anything since I am not his son, and didn't want to interfere with Mum's parenting. Apparently my grandparents know I am not Dad's biological son, but they haven't bothered to tell me anything either. My siblings had no idea, and they are as surprised as I am because there was never a hint of anything being off. I might be naive, but I always thought I had a great relationship with my dad. We go to see sports together, we go fishing together, he tutored me when I had difficulties with math, Dad is an engineer, he taught me to drive. I never got a hint he stores resentment towards me. I mean, he gave me my name, and has explained what my name means, and he was very proud of it. It's a story he tells from time to time. He likes to talk about stuff like that about me. My mum has never said a word about anything, and apparently she was supposed to have the talk with me, but she never did. I feel abandoned and unprepared for what lies ahead. I am not even sure I will be able to go to college anymore. I always assumed my parents will pay for it. I never had a job, and I am not sure what job I can even get to support me through college. I have no idea how to apply for loans. All my mum has done is cry and apologize. But nothing of substance. She has no idea how to help me. I don't even know if I am welcomed home anymore. It's all up in the air. I feel shame leaving my room, and if I will be asked to move out, I don't know where to go. I don't have any savings, maybe $400 put together. I am angry at my mum. I am confused about where I stand with my dad. There's a man out there who is my father that never wanted to have anything to do with me. I feel rejected and I have no idea what to do to fix this situation. Anyone have any idea what to do here? Do I apologize to my dad? What do I say to him? IDK, I've been stuck in my room these past few days, reading and browsing Reddit. I have no idea what to do. The next one is an update to the previous story. I am not sure if it's what you want to hear, but things are more or less back to a normal state if you consider other events. Unfortunately, my grandpa died at the beginning of this week, and I am still processing it. I did manage to talk with both my mum and dad, and I know where I now stand in relation with them, as well as my siblings. I am not sure I would have had the courage to say what I had to say if not for the amount of help and advice in the comments. I think it is safe to say both my parents love me, and what happened 2 weeks ago was an overreaction to a fight between my parents. It makes me uncomfortable knowing I am not aware of my own environment, but a stranger in the comments can tell me what's happening in my life with only a few lines of text from my side. A lot of comments were spot on about what is happening in my life. I have so far went through 40%, I estimate, of the comments, but I have given up. There are too many for me to keep up with. The conclusion is that I am definitely going to college. It will be the college I have always wanted to go to, and I will have the same experience as my siblings. The money to pay for all this already exists. My family is not going bankrupt as suggested. My dad just had a mental breakup with all the issues around my grandpa and his fight with my mum. Even if my dad would have went through with his decision, my grandma let me know my grandpa left me and my siblings a sum we will have to split between the three of us, but enough to put me through college. What started the entire scandal was poor timing on my part. My parents just had a fight, and then I showed up. Hey, pay for my college. My parents were talking about us, their children, and mum said something to the lines of, to think you wanted to split up when I came back pregnant, or something like that. I was not there, this is what she told me. I guess dad was talking how proud he was of his children, and mum wanted to express her gratitude for dad raising me as his own, and dad took it as the affair was the best decision I ever made, or something like that. And their fight escalated from there, and mum told dad something like, what makes you think any of them are yours? Yeah, it went downhill from there fast. Shortly after that my dumb face showed up, and here I am. Dad and mum have since made up. Mum is still a mess. Dad is not handling my grandpa's passing away too well either. I did talk with my siblings, and my sister raised a storm and wrote it here while blasting my parents on the phone, haha. My brother was calmer, but made his feelings known in no uncertain terms as well once he got back home. My grandpa passing away sort of kept spirits calm, I guess, and shifted the focus to dealing with that. Reading the comments was a mind-opening experience. I felt unprepared for the world out there. Many have asked how I had no idea how to apply for loans or grants. Well, in my defense, when you go year after year after year knowing you have nothing to worry about, that your college is good as paid for already, you don't really have to worry about anything else. Of course I knew there are loans and other things students have to be aware of, but it didn't apply to me. I went from, I am going to college, can't wait, to, you're not my son and I will not pay for your college, in less than 24 hours. Others have been prepared for this. At the very least they knew they had to get a loan, or get a job, look for a place to live, and so on. For me it was a sudden change in reality. Going through the comments I managed to put a list together with various tips and tricks, what jobs are available for students, how to find a place to live, how to get a credit card, a bank account, a cell phone plan, and so on. Really good stuff that I think, even after the return to normal, will help me. My parents have been called more names than they go by, and that was uncomfortable to read, and I haven't even read all comments. I can't even imagine what else lies in the comments, waiting. Dad is very sorry, apologetic, about his reaction and behavior. I understand his reaction, but I still feel hurt by it. I understand he was not in the best place of mind, but I can't control my feelings either. We will be alright, and this hasn't irreparably damaged our relationship. Mum hasn't handled everything that well. But she is coming around, and she answered some more questions for me. When Mum had an affair years ago, and got pregnant with me, my parents started divorce. Mum moved in with the man she had the affair with, but after a few months that guy decided he wants nothing to do with it. He kicked Mum out, and she had nowhere to go. So my grandparents took her in, because she was still the mother of their nephews' grandkids. I am getting a lot of heat for this mistake, but no, in my family's culture, grandparents call their grandkids nephews as well. Mum and Dad got back together, after a lot of work. Dad took me as his own, and that's my life since then. The man who is my natural father is not in the picture anymore. Dad didn't really know who he is, and Mum hasn't heard or seen him ever since. He was fully aware Mum was pregnant with his child. I guess he had more important things to do. But it doesn't sound like he was about to cure world hunger. She met him in a bar, not at a fundraiser. And I don't feel a need to know any more about who he is. I thought about the matter the last 2 weeks, since I've been aware of everything, and haven't really felt a desire to know who he is, where he is, if he is still alive, if I have other siblings out there. I was suggested to go and buy a DNA kit from 23andMe, maybe I can find him that way, but I think I will avoid doing this specifically so I don't find him or he finds me. As far as I care, I have a mum and dad and a brother and a sister, and that's my family. Moving forward I do plan of getting a job, and becoming more independent, but not in an attempt to distance myself from my family, but to feel like I would not be lost in the world if my family suddenly disappears. My mum admits I've been babied way more than my siblings, and that they should have prepared me more for what's coming next. I did learn where I stand with my family, and it's safe to say that I am loved, and I have options. I thought I am isolated, but my world is wider than I thought. Grandparents, siblings, my aunt, my cousins, all have my back. I think my parents are human, and they make mistakes, and even though this was not their greatest moment, I think I will look at everything as nothing more than a weak moment in an otherwise wonderful relationship. The next story is titled, My partner says the face I make when I climax is unattractive and doesn't like for me to finish because of that. My partner is a female but prefers they, them pronouns, which is reflected in this post. I, 20M, have been with my partner, 21F, for about 2 years. During this time it's been rare for me to climax during sex. I never made a fuss about it before because I figured my partner was just tired after their climax and didn't have the energy to help me reach mine. My fault for being slow, I suppose. I'd usually either suck it up and get blue-balled or go off to the bathroom to finish myself off in private. I recently read about how relationships where both partners are happy with the sex tend to be happier in other aspects too. I decided to bite the bullet and finally bring this up to my partner. I didn't even bring it up because of selfish reasons, I brought it up to try to benefit our relationship overall. I casually brought up to my partner while relaxing watching TV together how I thought sex could be better if we made an effort for us both to finish every time, and how I'd read couples who have great sex tend to have happier relationships. At first my partner got defensive and accused me of saying they're bad in bed, which I never said. I tried to clarify that's not what I meant, and, frustrated now at being verbally attacked, shot back with that I feel it's unfair how I never get to finish but they always do. My partner basically said that I'm ugly when I climax and that's why they purposely try to finish before me so that they don't have to see it. Childishly, I told them their face isn't exactly beautiful either, which I didn't really mean to be honest, and that everyone pulls a face when they climax. They were adamant that they don't make any type of facial expression and that I'm just weird. I left and drove 3 hours away to a friend's house for the night. This was a few days ago and I'm home now, but we haven't had sex since or talked about it. I'm honestly really hurt and now feel super insecure. I doubt I could even enjoy sex if we were to have it. How do I bring this back up without it being a fight? I'm honestly okay with not getting to climax in bed at this point, but I feel like this still needs to be talked about and resolved. I feel like my partner just thinks I'm ugly and doesn't even want to be with me. Everything feels super tense between us two and I hate it, even though they're acting like nothing happened. The next one is an update to the previous story. I posted here about a week ago looking for advice about how to bring up the fact that what my partner had said hurt me quite a lot without causing a fight. I honestly didn't really receive much advice in that aspect, but did have plenty of people point out to me that this was super toxic behavior. I decided to end things with my partner. It hurts right now, but I feel it is for the best. If they are unwilling to even pretend to care at all about my pleasure in bed, what else won't they care about in the future? Will my opinions on anything involving my children matter at all, for example? 2 days ago while they were at work and I was home, I moved my belongings into the guest bedroom. We are on a lease together so I cannot fully move out. When they got home from work we had a talk in which I broke up with them. They were very upset and asked what happened as they thought we were super happy. I told them it was about the sex thing and they got pretty mad. I was accused of being selfish, thinking with my dick only, etc. I honestly didn't feel like fighting, so I just sat there and played a poker face until they got frustrated at the lack of reaction and locked themselves in our, I suppose their, now bedroom. I went to my new room and could hear them crying inside the other bedroom and they just kept repeating, "Where is his stuff?" over and over. I just put in earbuds and watched Hulu until I fell asleep. I felt super bad for most of the first day and after that, and replaying the breakup over in my head I actually got super pissed. How dare they accuse me of being selfish and thinking with my dick when the whole reason this happened is because they're ducking selfish in bed and only cared about their orgasms. Last night I watched porn on the TV in my bedroom pretty loud, which is right up against the wall of their bedroom, for like 4 hours. I wasn't really watching it and was actually reading a book, scrolling through social media, whatever else, but they don't know that. I plan to do this every night until I grow tired of it. I've very quickly grown to resent my ex-partner and can't believe I put up with their crap for so long. I'm super glad to be out of the relationship. We haven't actually spoken since the breakup and I honestly don't plan to. If they try to talk to me about anything other than household bills, I'm just gonna walk away. Don't get me wrong, I'm heartbroken and devastated, but I know this is for the better. I'll eventually pick up the pieces of my heart and find a partner who actually cares for me and loves me. Thanks for helping me see the light, y'all. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comment.